What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Justin Odisho podcast. Creative name, I know. This is actually episode 20.
Woo!
We are here. Actually, it's like a group chat. This is the second group chat I did. I'll consider this season 2 of the podcast. And I'm sitting here with, let's just go like
Around
from me around to the left. So
yeah, please introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Justin Odisho. As you know, this is my podcast. And this is, I'm here in California getting some work done.
Cool.
And to my left here,
I
don't know if I introduced myself.
Are we supposed to look at the camera? Or
No.
We can just have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
I'm Ben Haggerty. I had Justin on my podcast once before, and it was awesome.
Yep.
And
You passed me already, too. I was your first episode. Actually, I think we started at the same time.
Pretty
What do you got,
close.
like 30 episodes now, right?
No, I wish.
25.
Like 20. I don't know. I think 24 comes out today, which I forgot I have to mix and put up.
Yeah. This will be 20.
This is we're in our WeWork office. This is my team right here. This is Shannon. That's Andrew.
Hey, so
Shannon, explain
I'll
who you
introduce
are.
myself.
Shannon, we're very excited to have
This
you.
is the first podcast I've ever been on, so I'm kind of, new. But yeah, I'm Shannon. I'm an editor, and I work primarily for Andrew and Ben.
She's pretty new.
Pretty
She's
new.
new to the
at what?
internet. I'm new to the internet.
Like,
I'm
new to
new.
What's up? I'm Andrew Sandler. I work with Ben and Shannon
Awesome.
over here at these offices. I direct, produce, edit, and a bunch of other things that I'm sure we'll talk about today.
So I'll do
Thanks
this
for
for our
having
team
us.
because they're
thanks for having us.
they are too humble.
Humble.
Shannon's a
Flex for us.
fantastic editor, one of the best editors in LA.
And she has
Los
really
Angeles.
nice shoes.
Her shoes are fire.
Boom.
Andrew's one of the best directors on earth, producers and
On planet Earth.
mogul. He connects dots.
He's a, what do they call it on resumes? Like dot connector?
He's a
Or like
professional
digital-
dot connector.
My,
A professional dot connector. I like that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Change your bio on IG.
my brother works with someone, and he's like, I don't know why their job title is digital dot connector. Or
Is it
whatever.
dot connectors?
Tight. He's
That
like, I
was weird.
specifically work on LinkedIn and connect people on emails. So anyway, what's up with this podcast? What do we
Dude,
do?
so, since you're kind of like used to hosting casts, I thought I could just take it easy and chill and like, you'll take care of the show, right?
Not today. Not today. Andrew, how was your morning?
Morning was pretty good. Woke up, got some coffee, got an acai bowl across the street. It's pretty lit.
Thank you for
LA.
your diary.
All right. So actually, we do have some stuff we can talk about because I might intro this beforehand because obviously, you guys have all do cool stuff, work on cool projects. The person that might be listening to this is probably some sort of like creative type of person that would be doing something creative, as vague as that sounds, probably into videos, maybe highly likely into video editing. And you guys have some experience with that. So like, when did you all link up? So I met Ben about a year ago. I think I just DM'd him some stupid idea. And then like we did something else. And then I came here and we did his podcast. And then I met you briefly, Andrew, because you guys were staying together, I think, right? And well, how did you guys all like cross paths? Who wants to go? I don't know where the timelines go.
I found Andrew because I found Andrew first. So
Match.com.
yeah.
Okay.
Basically, like
Farmers meet.
I had just graduated from college, Sarah Lawrence College, and I moved out to LA because I wanted to.
Where is that college?
It's in New York, Bronxville, New York.
Okay.
And so it's just like a liberal arts college. It's not like film school or anything. And then I moved out to LA because I figured all the creative, like really cool projects and cool people were out here. So I moved out here, and then I was kind of just like flailing and interning and not doing a lot. But I started to follow a bunch of creators on IG just to kind of, see what they were up to. And like, I don't know, I wanted to kind of see like if I could learn anything from their IG page or see what they're posting. And like, I found Andrew and he posted something on his IG story that was like, oh, I need an apprentice or I need an assistant. And I just emailed him, and that's how we met.
And then where were you then? So you woke up and then there was a ping in your DMs.
Yeah. Actually, what I did is I was looking for an assistant editor at the time, and I put out on Instagram that I was looking for somebody. I narrowed it down to 5 people, and I sent out footage from something I was shooting at the time. And I sent it out to all 5 of them, and I asked them all to edit a recap for me. And Shannon stood out the most. So then we met up, and that's how it got started, which I think is a great way to, try and find somebody you want to work with.
Yeah. IG. Like,
Yeah, there's so many posts on IG. There's so many opportunities on IG like that I see all the time, and like I'm constantly sending them to my friends. And like that's something that like I feel like a lot of people don't know is that if you follow creators on IG, more often than not, they'll post stuff like casting calls or like job opportunities. And I feel like that's where a lot of opportunities are. And I feel like people aren't like finding them because they're looking in like the wrong places and stuff.
you think like more traditional like searches they're doing?
Yeah, I feel like people are like looking on LinkedIn or something, or they're hoping to go to like networking events, which I've all done before. And like, it sucks. But IG has been the most like lucrative, I guess.
So that kind of like points out something. So you didn't you didn't ask for a resume or blah, blah, blah. You just said like, here's this, can you do the work?
Well, I did ask for resumes and reels at first, and that's how I narrowed it down to 5 people.
Who was at least organized or whatever?
Yeah. And then I sent the footage out to the 5 people. And I think that's a great way to see really fast who's a hard worker and who's not.
Yeah.
To be able to see like one, how fast I can turn it around, but also like if they're willing to put in the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the same thing I did for my podcast too, which isn't how we met, but I'm saying just recently getting Dave, who's my intern for Black with No Cream.
Yeah.
I did the same thing because he did it and we found her and she's gold. And
Absolutely.
then so I repeated it, and then it was the same thing. I sent out like one podcast episode and was like, I need this cut quickly. These are this is like a need for me is quick turnarounds and social content. And then this dude Dave like did it so quick, like in the same day. And everyone else came up and they were good, but just the fact that he was like understood the importance of how fast it needed to be, that was so crucial. I forgot about the mic thing. Damn.
No, you're doing it good. You're holding it good. You got this, buddy. Everyone.
Good job, Ben.
I remember my
guys.
first podcast.
Yeah, I remember my first podcast.
Baby's first podcast.
My podcast has the mic on the head thing, so I don't even have to think about it.
Yeah, dude. Ben has like the headset thing. Honestly, it makes you guys look like hardcore gamers or like
For sure,
like
nerds.
very serious
Pilots
guess.
in training.
I want to say also, I feel like a lot of people nowadays are professional networkers, meaning like a lot of people want to look for work and talk to people about the work. But then when it comes to doing the work, I think a lot of people forget that side of it. And Shannon's been like a hustler since day one. So since, she was actually like the first one out of the 5 people to even turn in the reel or the sizzle reel. And it was the best out of all of them. But since then, she just hasn't stopped hustling and grinding. And like, it's awesome to see her become the editor that she is today.
Oh my God,
So
I'm going
I
to
just wanna say
cry.
Our child's growing up.
Yeah.
Yes, we didn't tell you, but this is actually just like an intervention type. This is not a podcast.
Oh my God.
We're
The whole
adopting
thing
you,
is
Shannon.
Bring in the cake. The whole thing is like
Happy 1 year anniversary.
Yeah.
Has it been like a whole year?
I don't know.
Shit, it's probably more than
Yeah,
that.
it's been like a year since October,
Yeah.
I think.
It's kind of cool because like when I was talking with Josh and we did a podcast with his two, he did like a 1-month internship with these 2 dudes, and like you guys have people, and it's like you're all building a team, but you're all, and I'm like sitting here in Michigan by myself. Like I said, my mom helps me sometimes.
Can you hit record, Mom? Please.
No, but like you guys are all gaining, like, Shannon's gaining a lot from this, and you guys are gaining a lot from this. What could you guys say, like what do you get out of this? Because is it like is it like a trade thing, or is it like you're paying her, or what? Sorry if that's like a specific question, but a lot of people DM me, and a lot of people watching this are probably in that position where they want like to like get their foot in the door somewhere, or just like start creating stuff, but they don't know how. And people DM me all the time, and they're like, yo, is there anything I can help you do? Anything, I'll do it. And I'm just like, I mean, not at the moment. I'm just sitting here in Michigan alone. But maybe.
Yeah.
Why does it sound so sad? I'm sitting here in Michigan alone.
There's like a song.
Move here, please. I need my friends.
But like, I don't even know what I just asked. But
No,
like,
it started like for you guys. Didn't it start off
why?
like,
Why do you do this?
Yeah. I don't know.
Or like
why
you've
I
been
do
here for
this.
years, so obviously it's been
Frequently,
good for
I
you,
ask myself why I do this. But yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to surround myself with people who were like, not better than me, but yeah, like better than me. I wanted to be surrounded by people who are like successful creators or who are creating constantly or who are creating work that I admired. And like, because I wanted to be there too. And I feel like the best way to get yourself to the next level is to be surrounded by people who are not only like-minded, but also are challenging you. And that's what Andrew and Ben do for me, is that they basically just take my skills to the next level and they challenge me and they encourage me, and it's just going to get better from there. And all I have to do is help them and support them and work with them, which I already love, you know, like, so I feel like, yeah.
And like when I moved here, Andrew was like my first person that I got to work with on anything that was real.
Plug. Andrew's the plug.
The plug. Andrew's always the plug. Super plug. And so he brought me in and under his wing, and I was learning from him. And just by being there every day, like, it was so important for me to, like, and I say this all the time. Like,
so you kind of did like a similar.
Yeah, 100%. And like, it was like he brought me in on a project that was already budgeted for. There was no real room for me, but then I came in and was helping him with it and assisting him on an edit. And we ended up doing that for the Chris Brown documentary for forever or whatever. And he would just be like, he'd try to find ways to get me money, like, oh hey, could, like, maybe I'll kick you cash or whatever. But for me, it wasn't even like that really mattered at that point. It was like the idea of just learning and being there and being available and showing, like, because you know what you're good at, no one else knows that, and it's not up to them to like go do the research. So you have to like prove your value basically. So Shannon proves her value by coming in and just killing it with Andrew over the first few months. Like, just anything he needs, boom, boom, boom. And then it's cool. Can we bring you on and put you on a retainer for this, this edit job? Or can you go and do this job and put her on a film? Like, we just did a documentary and we're still working on it right now. And so she's the editor on that too. So it's like, things come.
Andrew's like really extraordinary. Also Ben is too, because like, they're showing you what the vision is. Like, they're not just like keeping me at an assistant level or an assistant editor level. They're like allowing me to grow and like giving me opportunities, which is like what I'm so grateful for. Yeah. And I feel like not everyone is like that. So I feel like you have to find people who are also willing to like encourage you and challenge you and give you opportunities as well.
You mean like some people will just be like, edit these 3 clips, and then they give you as the bare minimum as you need to know, whereas they're like, well, we're trying to do this one because we're trying to do this stuff overall in the bigger picture.
For sure.
I don't know, it's like the open book thing. Like, we sit here and try to brainstorm ideas and think of like what the next move is and stuff like that, and if we have all those conversations in secret, then it's just us two. And then if you add a third brain to it, it's even
she
more
can
power.
help if she knows,
tons of
right?
help. Yeah.
If she
plus it's cool because, like, as you know, we have projects we're working on together, but I think it's so important to surround yourself with a creative team in general, especially, you know, as an editor or as a director or whatever it may be. Surround yourself with creative people, and we still go off and do other work separately, but then like we always come back and bring whatever skill sets or whatever, you know, new people or ideas that we make or meet on those other jobs, and we still kind of come back to this core group, which is cool. So I think it's important to stick to your creative team if you find it. Hopefully if you find it, but I think it's also important to be open-minded about meeting other people and taking on other work as well.
Yeah. And you said that like a lot of people email you being like, is there anything that I can help you with? Like, sometimes like some people don't have like jobs or whatever for you, but like maybe you can email like someone that you admire and you can ask them just like for straight up advice. Like, I did that when I first moved here, and like I was surprised by how many people were willing to just give me advice. And like I emailed like this guy, Frederick Shanahan. He was the editor for The Search of General So. That's like a documentary on Netflix. And I emailed him just asking him for advice, and he was really nice, and he sent me a huge email that basically said how he became a really successful editor. And at the time, I thought that an editor had to be a runner on a show and then had to be an assistant editor for 60 years or something, and then would become an editor. But Frederick emailed me and he said, oh, I became an editor just by working with someone who believed in me, and I was able to skip that whole 50-year journey of being a showrunner or being an assistant editor, and now I'm an editor. And it was awesome because he just kind of rewrote this whole narrative for me.
That's legit what happened to us.
Yeah.
Because of him.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Because what happened to you guys?
Like, for me to come in and not having gone to film school, or, you know what I mean, it was like a basic ass college or whatever. And
did you go to film school, Andrew?
I went to film school.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can get some opinions on that. We touched on it. Like,
mine was like my school was like set up to like for like news broadcast. That's basically what my college was.
Yeah.
So
every school has like their media class.
Yeah.
Like you know, you can take like a class in television production or
Yeah,
radio,
it's exactly what my thing was.
whatever.
So being there, I was like, I hate this. So I would always try to find creative ways to do shit, which is funny now because we compare our videos from before, like our early videos and stuff. Like me and Andrew both competed in a Doritos commercial competition like forever ago. Mine was looks terrible, and his is sick
I remember
as hell.
you said you got some nasty comments on that one.
Yeah, well, that's just because it went viral, but
No big deal. It
yeah,
just went
still
viral.
didn't win $1 million. But I have no idea what I was talking about. Damn it.
You said that I don't know what you said.
So I think we were talking about was when you first moved here. Ben started off as an intern. He was killing it as an intern, and then I pulled him into being an assistant editor when we were working on the Chris Brown documentary. And like he said, like, you know, I was doing music videos at the same time working on the film. So as those were coming in, Ben would also assistant edit those. Yeah. As we kept working on the Chris Brown documentary, Ben kept like proving his worth in the edit room. I eventually pulled him up to co-editor. So I think that's a good way. I think that's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
A way to kind of get in.
But it's cool to
somewhere.
show that too, because it's like that changed everything for me to say just that title, even assistant editor. I was like sitting there like, I don't know what I'm going to get on this, but I'm going to be here every day. And we'd sit there in the edit bay, this small ass edit bay every day working on this doc, you know what I mean? Just to like come up with something. And then he gave me that credit, which allows me to go and talk to people. And then they're, oh, cool. You did this with blah, blah, blah. So you can run, and that brings more jobs for us. And then like, even for Shannon, weren't we going to have her be an assistant editor on this doc? Because me and Andrew were going to edit it.
Started off as assistant editor, right?
And she became like the fucking lead editor and just killed that shit. And it's not like about the titles anymore. To me, like nothing matters. It's just about having a team that everyone can contribute and come up with a really, really good product. You know what I mean? Like that's the end goal, and everyone works together and keeps the engine moving.
You know what I keep this little like book of like random late night thoughts, and I always end up writing in it like 2 or 3 a.m. But I realized like what you guys are all saying is basically all. This sounds like such a stupid analogy because Josh said I make so many analogies that are all. But
Let's hear
all rivers lead into like the same bigger pool, no matter where you start from. So like whether that's like, it doesn't matter in what entry point you take, it'll all lead to like the bigger pool. Because so like with me, I do like a lot of educational content type of stuff, but like once I become like sort of a thought leader in this space, now even though I do video editing, you guys do video editing, now I can still talk whatever with like, let's say someone who's real big into like sports content or something. So like I run my website, let's say someone runs like a sports website, me and him still can connect now because we're both kind of like gurus of different things. So the gurus can connect with the gurus, and then like it just goes up into like, I don't even know what I just said, but
well, they all
Does that make
elevate.
sense?
It all elevates, you know what I mean? So it's like
it doesn't. So basically all I'm trying to say is it doesn't matter what you do at first. It just matters that you like start, and then like you'll naturally find your like where you fall with like the best work that you do.
And it definitely comes with passion too, because I don't think like Shannon came in and has not stopped since she got here. You know what I mean? It's like dedication every single day, goes 100%. And it's
sweat.
like,
I just imagine sweat like
Very
because
sweaty.
because there's only so many chairs, you know what I mean? Like we can only fill so many chairs, and people will message you all the time, message him all the time, message whoever.
I should just start like an army of people, but I don't have anything to
Well,
do.
that's what I'm saying. Like, there's only so much room. So when you do bring someone in, that person needs to be ready to go as hard as possible. You know what I mean? Like, run to the location, do all these things, be there on time, do all this shit. Because, like, that moment only lasts for so long. So, like, to work with Andrew, it was like, yeah, all right, cool. We get home. He'd let me we'd drive from Wilshire to his house, and then I'd take his Beamer to the valley because I didn't have a fucking car at like 3 in the morning, and then get right back up to go back to pick him up in the morning with his car. Yeah. To go back to wherever it was to work another full, like all those things. Like it could have been a average or whatever, and just said like, oh, I'll come in twice a week or 3 times a week, but he would have still gone 6 days a week. And it doesn't matter if I'm not there, if I am there, but me being there allowed me to like invest into that and invest into the idea and help elevate the idea and make the idea become what it was. And that's why that fucking doc is like what it is.
You're talking
like,
about the Chris Brown.
Yeah, Chris's doc. Sorry.
Yeah. Once you get the opportunity, you definitely have to run with it and give yourself like the best chance possible and just work super hard.
And that'll get you in that pool.
Yeah, no matter how annoying the task is or no matter how hard it is, because that's just
that's what you wanted, right?
Yeah, and that's what you want too.
You moved out here. Well, that goes into like location. It seems like location's really important to be physically there. Like, so you moved out here. I don't know if you've been here or you live. Like,
I'm born and raised in LA.
Born and raised in LA.
Yeah, I have a definitely different experience than both of these guys and girls.
That's why I was saying it was funny comparing our videos,
I like
because
the word transplant.
his videos were he like
it.
grew up around this, so he knew like what casting was. I never thought about casting when in Iowa. Like,
that's
you know
probably
what I mean?
like, so it seems like that's why it seems like when they told their story, you kind of were like had a spot for them. So how did you get a spot for yourself?
A spot. What do you mean?
You know what I'm saying? Like you were the person that she reached out to and kind of like brought him on to work on a project, but like, how did you start working on, like, you know, you were born and raised here, but you went to film school. So that's probably how you got the connections.
Well, surprisingly enough,
like, who did you DM?
I had a great experience. I had a great experience with film school for sure, and I met a lot of great people. But I don't think any of my jobs straight out of film school were directly correlated to film school. Maybe in some like bigger picture way. But I actually got my first start because I reached out to one of my favorite directors, which I think, like Shannon said, is the best way to, you know, like, figure out who you like, where you want to be in 5 years, find that person, and either try and model your career after them in some sort of way or just reach out to them. One of my favorite directors for a long time, music video director, was Anthony Mandler. So I reached out to Anthony Mandler at the time. He got lunch with me. He responded. We actually ended up having mutual friends, but he responded. We got lunch. And then he introduced me to Andrew Listerman of Riveting Entertainment, where we started doing music videos for Chris Brown.
How long was this about?
This was about a year after film school.
Okay.
So because of those music videos with Chris is how we gained his confidence, because I was actually working on another documentary at the time, straight out of film school. Super low budget. It was just like me running around with my camera. I was editing it. I was shooting it. I was basically doing everything. Yeah. And it goes back to what you were saying, like, you know, about the hustle. You know, of course, like, I don't want to be the one doing all of these jobs. In my mind, in my mind at the time, I was competing with Mandler, with Colin Tilley, with all these people, even though I wasn't anywhere near their level. But in my mind, I was like, I already saw myself there. Mm-hmm. But I think that you have to do the hard work, like you said, and not have any pride when you're first starting out to do all of those things, even if you don't want to do it. Yeah. Like, I didn't want to edit it, but I had, no choice. I just wanted to direct it. But sometimes, you kind of got to go above and beyond. Yeah. So because of that experience with that documentary, that's what gained the confidence of Chris to be able to do his documentary.
Yeah. I mean, so it sounds like I think I'm going to I usually intro these with like a good bio and some like highlights and stuff. But it seems like you guys have worked on some pretty big projects at this point, pretty like, actually, what's funny, that Chris Brown documentary was in that Little Dicky music video. Did you guys?
Yes.
Did you guys have anything to do with that at that point?
Sign off. Well, actually, when they were shooting it, because Ben and I had worked with Little Dicky before on EA commercials. Little Dicky actually texted me. He was like, "What's up, man? It's Little Dicky, the rapper." The rapper. That's what he said. It's Little Dicky, met him the at a rapper.
Concert once, and he's like, and like after the show, he's like taking pictures, just saying what's up. It was like 3-4 years ago. So it was a small show at the Shelter in Detroit. So like 100 people maybe. And he's like, "Hi, I'm Dave." That's how he does it, dude. I was like, this guy's awesome.
His literally like in the text is just, "Hey, this is Dave, or this is Little Dicky, the rapper."
Yeah, that's literally what he said.
Yeah,
hey, this is Little Dicky, the rapper.
Like there's other Little Dickies
I heard you're
in
Chris
the world.
Brown's director. I'm shooting a video with him. Can we talk about a few things? So I called him. He told me about the concept, but I didn't know they were going to use the documentary.
Footage.
That's I don't think the documentary had the documentary come out when he texted me that.
Yeah, because Tony directed that, and he called me to ask for his, because he was like, how do you work with Chris on that stuff? So like they were just trying to get intel on it, and I think it had come out, but they in the Dicky video, you see our documentary on TV, and it's the same actual footage, but they reshot the like really intense interview that we did with Chris in like a warehouse, but they had him like being like, "Man, I wish I could just switch bodies."
It's like they modeled it after the shot you guys did, but they had to change the script to fit
just
the
one
video.
shot is replaced.
Everything else is actual. Anything so the footage that you guys
that's in the music video.
The Freaky Friday video,
which
got like 12 million views.
It's at 30 million right now.
Wait, it's at 30 million.
It just
views? The internet moves fast.
It's crazy. But the doc's in that shit's crazy. We watch it. I'm like, oh, they have our doc in there. Like,
that video is brilliant.
It's
they did such a good job.
And it's like a radio smash, too.
It is. I
If
heard
you're
it in the
not
club the other
listening
Is
to
it
night.
on the radio already?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Like my friends, they don't listen to that kind of stuff. Like, you know, they just like the regular stuff on the radio. And I realize that they're playing it on the radio, but I don't like at first listen. You don't realize that the song's trying to be funny. Or
39 million
well, you probably
views.
do, but-
39 million views in 1 week.
Jeez, that's insane. That's probably one of the biggest songs Chris Brown's even been a part of in a while. I'm not going to discredit Chris Brown because he has hits for days.
Yeah, pretty
I'm
much
just
any
saying,
song
but,
he
like,
puts out gets
But
like
but
harassed.
recently, like that's probably one of the most viral videos on the internet right now.
It is doing really well.
40
I wonder
million.
if it'll be well, damn, all of Dickie's videos are pretty
Yeah,
popular.
all of his videos are like 10 mil.
His one, yeah, anyway.
Shout out to
So
Lil Dicky.
you said it's mainly editors listening to this podcast?
Well,
or
it's,
a lot of creative people? Because I want to talk about...
a lot of people that watch me are interested in learning the Adobe Creative Cloud software, which means that they're probably video editing or doing something, and or just like trying to be like their own thing, like a YouTuber or a podcaster or whatever. So, what did you want to talk about, like film school? Or what was it?
Well, while the three of us are here, I think it'd be cool maybe to talk about our process for documentaries, or I guess anything, but specifically documentaries. I think it's cool how we tackle the edit, how we do the writing of a documentary, because even though documentaries aren't scripted, there's still a whole lot of writing involved. The way that we do the post-its, the way everything else could be cool to talk about.
Actually,
the editing before the editing.
I do have people that question. So like, imagine somebody just trying to like say, I want to shoot a documentary, but like, where do I start? Or I want to shoot anything really, but because your process probably can work for anything.
Sure.
I think a lot of people might not realize if they're just like, okay, I got this camera, I got this computer, you know, I want to do something, and just where do you start? But it seems like you guys are pretty organized, and they might not realize that this person does this, and there's tasks, and there's roles, and there's a team. So give it like a basic outline for someone. I guess.
can actually talk about something that's worked for me for a long time, and I actually did this for the Chris Brown doc even before Ben came. But when I have an idea for something, documentary like specifically, I do a sizzle right away. Even if I don't have the footage, I get all the footage I can. So basically, a sizzle is taking footage and putting together a sample, like a 1 minute kind of highlight reel, or anything that gets the story across of whatever you're trying to create.
So like a trailer.
Yeah, exactly, kind of like a trailer.
At this point, you have so you're saying you already shot the footage. At this point, you have a bunch of material.
No. It's even before I've shot anything. So like,
how do you make a sizzle?
So when I pitched the Chris Brown documentary, I basically got all the footage I could from offline, from online, from interviews. And the point of a sizzle is like everybody knows that it's not that you haven't shot the film yet, essentially, it's but like you're presenting it in a way that people can watch and get an idea possibly for how you want to make it or what you want to do. So I got as much footage as I could that was available online, footage from his shows, footage from interviews that he's done, and I cut together, like Shannon said, it's kind of like a trailer. 1 minute trailer, and I still do that today. I just that for a documentary that I'm trying to pitch
like
right now.
Networks, like, or whoever you might be trying to take it to, or even the artist. Like, if say like his relationship with Chris was like, hey, do you want to do this? Yeah, that'd be cool, because this is what it could be like, and they see the trailer like, holy shit, yeah, I didn't even think about my life like that, or something. Or a network would be like, yeah, okay, cool, how much do you need? And that's when you start talking about funding and those. So that's like the very, like, he could be doing that and taking a risk of his time, and it might not ever happen, but it's just like if you make 10 of those, maybe someone will bite on one, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Plus it also like, as much as I'm making it to try and sell the idea, it also helps me as a creative flesh out the ideas that are running through my head.
It's like a rough draft, but for video. It's like, instead of writing a rough draft, it's like bullet points, but in video format.
I mean, you still have to, you know, when you're pitching something, you have to have the sizzle, but you still also have to put together a creative deck also. So you still have to do actual writing, you know, talking about how you want to make the film. Pictures, like a treatment basically, in addition to sizzle. Not everyone does sizzles. I think it helps, but I think it also helps me flesh out an idea as a creative, to be able to sort through those ideas. We just did a sizzle for a documentary that we're pitching right now, and when we were working on that sizzle, I think it helped me understand like how I want to make the film, which I didn't think of before I dove into making the sizzle, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
No, so I mean, for anyone listening, and they might, whether you want to just make something for yourself or, you know, send it to somebody, hopefully to like land it into a bigger project, I think like the way that you're saying it makes sense, that it's structure for yourself or whether you're like submitting it.
Actually, the sizzle for the Chris Brown doc actually turned into the first minute of the film. So
Oh,
if
really?
you, I mean, it changed a little bit, but more or less, if you watch the intro to the film, everything before the opening title was basically the sizzle that I pitched.
And that's you can watch it on Netflix, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
see it on Netflix. And
My password for anyone that
I don't know if I
wants
ever
it
told anyone
is-
that.
it's yeah, it's what?
I don't know if I've ever told anybody that.
Well,
That-
and it was
that-
cool
the sizzle.
too.
Oh, about the
That
sizzle?
it's actually
Yeah.
basically the first minute of the film now.
Exclusive.
So if you want to know what a sizzle
yeah,
is
so
like, watch the first minute.
there
of
you
the
go.
Chris
Right.
Brown
What do they search on
documentary.
Netflix?
Chris Brown,
That's
welcome
it?
to my life.
Chris
Yep.
Brown, welcome to my life. Yeah.
It's the #1 trending doc for a long time. It shouldn't be hard to find.
Yep.
But you want to know what else was cool? Because when I got there, that's what Andrew basically had created already. So I saw that, and as soon as I see that, I'm like, damn, because it was like a movie trailer. You're like, wow, this is so impactful. It seems so crazy. And then it just, you just understand what, it kind of sets the tone for what the film will be. But it was also cool because what Andrew did, which was really smart, and I didn't know about this, is he like scripted out the entire movie based on what he knew about Chris before having really done any of the good like big interviews. It was like he had scripted it out, so it was like, hey, from 1 minute to 5 minutes, this is what we're going to try to aim for. This will be accomplished at this point. Here's where this will happen in 30 minutes. So you
And
almost
do you
kind
know like this is gonna be an hour long or?
Well, the way that I approach and still approach documentaries is like, I guess because of my film school background, I have those fundamentals of feature film, like actually scripted projects.
Mm-hmm.
So I really just apply what I knew about writing scripted films into documentaries. So I know there's a great book out there. I think editors should read it too. It's called Save the Cat.
I've read it.
It is the best
I have
book
not.
on
Save the
screenwriting.
Cat?
Save the Cat. It's super easy read, and it has everything you need to know. It literally breaks down like what story beats need to happen at what point in the film. And if you watch any film ever, after you read Save the Cat, you'll see that they're all the same.
Yeah, I've been watching so many like classic films right now that play around with like all types of like different, like, you know, Pulp Fiction is edited like where the beginning is at the end is at the beginning and the middle, you know, the scenes. Have you guys, what else have you seen? Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind?
Of course.
Yeah.
Long
Yes.
time ago.
Yeah, that I just recently watched that again, and that video is all edited in like it's dealing with like Inception type of memories. And then once you finish the movie and you go back to the beginning and you like you don't get the beginning until the end. You're saying
Love
that
that.
would fit, like those crazy type things would fit.
Every movie has story beats in it that all happen at the same time. If you read Save the Cat, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
All right.
And it was cool because it literally was like that. Like when we were editing, I would be like, hey, what if we went to this? And you'd be like, no, we have to wait till 10 minutes. We need to finish this portion first before we get to this part because it'll just flow better. And it did. Once we got there and that we implemented that scene or whatever it was, that would, you know, maybe we had to go flashback to like his hometown, but we needed to establish everything else prior to that. As soon as we got to the hometown at 7 minutes, that worked perfectly. And then at 9 minutes, we were done in the hometown and we moved on to like, you know, high school or what it was like. So like these points just made so much sense. And then we just fleshed it out and it literally matched the time. Like if you go look at, if you can find, I don't know where that file's at, but like to find what that timeline was then, I'm pretty sure the doc, it's not going to be identical, but it's pretty close to it.
Yeah, so basically what we do now essentially is we have a huge wall in our office that has Post-its all over it.
They do.
And you'll
I
see
can confirm.
like, what's that?
I said they do. I can confirm. I'll like put a behind the scenes picture. or
Yeah,
something.
do it.
You'll actually see on the wall, it says Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. And before you do anything, just like I said, if you read Save the Cat, then you'll know where certain beats need to happen.
What's a beat?
Not all documentaries follow that. I think that there's a lot of exceptions to documentaries. That's why this doesn't work for all documentaries, but for what I've been doing, it works. A story beat is essentially a story beat
like
is
the pulse.
yeah, it's you know, character arcs and things that need to happen to certain characters in order for a story to flow the right way.
Yeah.
So you see on our wall, you know, it says Act 1, you know, within the first 10 minutes, this has to happen. And you can't always predict what's going to happen in documentaries. It's super uncertain, but you can prepare as best you can to be able to fit those moments and look out for those moments when you're shooting or when you're editing.
Someone did DM me one time with a kind of specific question that I feel like I never had the answer for him, but for that one person, maybe you can help. They actually were doing some sort of like docu insight to, it was like some rapper or something to say, and they were wondering like how they should go about it, like, just following him in the studio. But the main question they had is, how do I like sit them down and interview them, especially when you're working with an artist like Chris Brown, where I don't know if he has all the time in the world, and you guys probably have to get your stuff, and you don't have much takes. Like, do you just sit him down in a chair and just start going, or like?
The brilliant thing that we did, and Andrew had interviewed Chris. You had interviewed him right before I got there, I think. Like, as I was there, they interviewed him. So they had like one master interview, right? And so that starts off explaining a lot of the early moments. And it might have gone into later stuff, but what we did was we used that to build the beginning of the film. And then we did a second interview where we knew we had time to like craft new questions that we knew specific to the timeline of the film where we were at. So like we might have had a rough edit of the whole movie, and then we're like, oh, we need Chris to talk about this here because this is where we need him. He vaguely answered it in this interview, but we need it. So the second follow-up was super key for us. And you can see there's 2 different looks in the interviews, so we were able to go back and forth from them. But
I think sorry, go for it.
There's some people who say like you shouldn't prepare any questions, like you can just go and sit down and just feel it out. But like I feel like, in my opinion, I like the idea of being prepared and having questions prepared, or like at least with you. And maybe you don't have to have like a huge piece of paper. Maybe you can put on like an iPad or something. But I feel like at least thinking about what questions you want to ask or what you want to get out of that person will really help you when you interview somebody.
I mean, me and Ben at this point have done like a couple dozen podcasts respectively each, and that's true. Like what I do actually, I guess I haven't done a documentary, but when I sit, like this is a group chat, so we're just kind of like, you know, just having fun. But if I was doing a one-on-one interview with me and you or me and you, I would like the way I try to do it is I take it from like the start of the journey to, you know, some cool highlights to like where they want to go in the future. And I take the notes app on my computer or phone, and I just like kind of bullet point, and then I organize them kind of also in like the time, like, so the questions about where you were born, I'm not going to ask them at the end. I'm going to ask them at the top. And then like, I kind of yeah. And it seems like, do you write notes down when I just keep them in my head, and sometimes I forget, but like
you were my first interview on my podcast, and
we talked for like 3 hours.
3 hours, but that was because
now I keep them like an hour.
But yeah, that was the same. But like I had so many questions, I did so much research, and I was trying to find it because I was so nervous that I wouldn't have a good conversation. Like I wanted to make sure we hold it. So now I think most of my interviews now, like I just go off of what I know about them, and then I learn stuff on the fly. So I agree with Shannon too, because I feel like we need to have all the questions. But for this, on top of me just not having enough time to prep, like I'm pretty shitty at that. But I feel like if we just have an organic conversation, like we'll get there and you will tell me about certain things or something like that. But I try to make notes on a few major things so we could talk about certain points. But you're right. You want to start here and get to the end. And
you have to have a framework. You have to have a framework of what you want, but also be open to segueing into different topics that might come up or you might not have prepared for. So I think it's a balance of being prepared, because you have to know the story you want to tell. You can't just like, you know, follow a subject and hope that, you know, something happens, you can piece something together later. Maybe that's okay at first if you're trying to like really understand and find the story. But at a certain point, you have to switch over to knowing what story you want to tell and then searching for those moments. And you can't be like you were asking about Chris Brown or anybody else. For Chris Brown's doc, I just sit down and interview everybody you see in that doc. So I'm the one interviewing Mike Tyson and Jennifer Lopez and Rita Ora and everybody else. And I think that you just can't be scared, because one of my earliest professors told me you can't go to every theater and explain to your audience why something is a certain way. So that movie's on Netflix now. And say like I was too scared to ask Chris Brown a certain question or dig into the Rihanna situation or whatever, the film might not have turned out that great. And now that film is out there for everybody to see with my name on it. And so you just have to be prepared to not be scared and ask the questions that you need to tell the best story that you can.
Yeah. If they want to say, no, I don't want to answer that, they can say
exactly. No. Yeah.
And one thing, like for this documentary we're in the middle of right now, which is what all the post-it notes and stuff are in our office, but like, we had a plan for what the film would be, and we kind of had it based off of that, and it was kind of around this big event, right? So I don't know if we can talk about too much about it right now, but I'll give you, I just want to talk about what it's going to be about.
A month.
Yeah, maybe, who knows? So anyway, we went to this event, and we all flew to Ohio and filmed this event in Ohio, right? And we were there for like a week. After that, we got a majority of our interviews that week. We hadn't started editing the film. We knew a kind of idea what it was, but when we came back here, that's where we started creating all the post-its. We went through, Shannon transcribed every interview that we did, and then she pulled out all the gold moments, and we started listening to those, and we had all the gold moments. And
How did you figure out what was a gold moment?
I just read the interview, and whatever stood out to me, or I guess spoke to me, then those were like the moments I thought were cool.
But she also had a theme too. Like we knew what our goal of our film was, so she's going off those moments, matching the idea of our film. So, oh, cool, they're talking about this. That's perfect because that's what the doc's going to be about. Blah blah blah. So we'd write those all down, and each person would have their name, and then all these moments. This is how we approach this doc. Anything is different, but then we were able to sit there and start piecing those together. All right, cool. Well, in the first 10 minutes, we know we want to talk about this. Did anyone say anything about that? Cool, maybe this would go here. So then we're literally putting it on paper, and then when we go in and edit, we're actually copying and putting those pieces in there and seeing it flow, and then we have to find out how to transition. So there's a process for it. It's always different, but there's always a process, or you should at least try to have a process when you start a project. You know what I mean? Whether it's a podcast or a vlog or something, you can't just... Sometimes you can, though. Like, especially with rappers, because I've been there. And if you're filming a rapper and you have to come up with a story and you're like, I want to do an interview, or I don't know how to do a doc, it's like, I think you also just have to sometimes deal with what you have. Andrew was out running and gunning and filming that documentary that he did at the beginning for Ryan Blair, and he's running and shooting. And I don't know if you necessarily knew the story right away, but you're just creating moments or finding and telling the story as you go. Sometimes.
Yeah, that's the power of like editing and like the post-production, because you can shape what you have, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that, you know, the better you shoot it, the better time you'll have. But you can definitely take raw footage and turn it into something. Like I always see stuff. What did I see?
A movie's always made 3 times. It's made in pre-production, production, and post, and it could be 3 completely different movies.
Absolutely. I saw something that was like,
I like that.
I was watching something and they were like, and they just cut. Oh yeah, what that Young Thug music video. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the one where he didn't
where they're
show
like,
up?
Young Thug was gonna show up, but then he didn't show up, and this is all the footage we had.
Oh yeah,
and
that was great.
And I was like, this is way better than anything that would have happened if they would have went to plan, you know. So it can go to plan.
Which I sat there and had debates with everyone to decide if that was actually the treatment or if...
No, I guarantee Young Thug like didn't show up. He's like, maybe, I don't know. I feel like Young Thug really just like forgot to show up or like didn't care.
Probably.
I love that stuff. That was such a good... I love videos that go like play off the idea of like what the process is of making a video.
Yeah, they get like meta.
Like Drake's God's Plan video, and he just went and I don't know how many times I told Andrew like, let's just give them like, how much was the budget? Oh, it's $60K. All right, let's just take that and do something wild with it. And no one ever can because it's too edgy, and like, what if it goes wrong or something?
Or like, you guys seen the Casey Neistat Nike ad or whatever? It's kind of older at this point, but you know Casey Neistat.
Oh, the running.
Of course.
Yeah, Nike gave him a budget for like a commercial, and what he did was instead he just used the budget to travel around the world. And while traveling around the world, he kind of like still made it a great commercial, but like he took their budget and used it. I don't know.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I can't explain it.
It was a running commercial. It was supposed to be 4 commercials for Nike, and then he turned it into one video where he spent the entire budget to travel around the world in like 8 days.
Yes.
Or something. And then so he flew to like 30 countries or something crazy in a certain amount of days, and then made one piece. Yeah. But it wasn't like for a Nike commercial, it was shot like a vlog or a YouTube content. It wasn't like a clean, polished.
And
like,
it went really well.
Crazy. It did nuts.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just, I don't know.
Yeah. So like you said, like, I guess, you know, don't get too like nervous, but so where are we then in like the process? You said, because there's a full process. We talked about the sizzle. We talked about like the shooting. Are we now in the middle? Like, when does it get to Shannon's desk or whatever? Or like, how is it delegated at this point?
How is it delegated? I mean, you start editing as soon as the first footage is in the can. I think.
You just start.
Well, you start going through it and you pull selects and
Well, I was gonna say, it seems like the more you do at once, the better you'll be able to like you said, prepare questions that need to be filled into certain spots.
Yeah, I mean, with Chris's doc, it was the questions were changing based off of the edit. So it was like, you know, I would interview Rita Ora, and she would say something new I'd never heard anybody say before, and I'm like, oh, that has to be in the doc. And then everybody I interviewed after Rita Ora, I'd make sure to include that question to kind of build off each other. So you have your framework of the movie or the story you think you want to tell, but you have to be open and malleable to that constantly changing throughout production based off of what, you know, people say in certain interviews or what footage you get.
There's even tricks too that I don't know if I think this had to have been your idea because I thought this shit was so clever. Like as we're cutting that doc,
It had to be my idea.
it sure was your idea. Sure was your idea.
Because it was so clever.
Well, it also could have. I was sleeping on his couch in his office at the house, so maybe I was talking in my sleep and came up with the idea. And he heard it and ran with it. Andrew, do this. No, but it was so like towards the end of the doc, we had people that were in the film that could no longer be in the film for like legal reasons or whatever the fuck. So we had to pull out certain interviews, right? And some of the things that were said were so good. We're like, fuck, that really told that part of the story or whatever. And Andrew was smart enough because we still had more interviews that we could get, and he would interview people that he knew could also answer similar questions and got them to like say, not like, hey, will you say this? It was like he asked them the same question in a way that he knew that they would answer similar, and that filled gaps. That was able to allow us to still get someone to say certain things that we could have in the movie that we didn't have to re-edit the entire section or something like that. We were able to still keep those gaps where we needed someone to say like, Chris was so fast on the basketball court. That's why he's awesome at basketball. Whatever it was, we got someone else to say that. So it was like finding creative ways to like fill in those gaps. And we're doing that with this doc. It's like we come up with answers or questions that can
documentary filmmaking is funny because like I feel like usually you think there's pre-pro and then there's like production and then you're done and you put everything in post. But with documentary filmmaking, I feel like you go back and forth with post and production a lot because like post can help make you just make decisions in like the production and stuff.
Yeah, like we need this bit
again.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's funny, like there isn't really like 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, and then you're done with documentary filmmaking, but like it's like they're all kind of like jumbled together because it's just a mishmash.
Yeah.
Which is
But that's
daunting.
why if you do as much writing as you can, like whether it's post-its or whatever system works for you, but sometimes there's so much footage and so much going on that it's easy to get lost and feel overwhelmed. That's why if you have a framework of what you want and you prepare as best you can without the footage, then it helps you stay on track once you have the footage.
Yeah, especially when you get to like documentary stuff. I'm sure you just collect like a bunch of footage.
Yeah, and something we also do is transcribe the interviews. So
that's so key.
Yeah, we send all the interviews out to this company that we use in Canada, and they send back a transcription, which is basically the interview in word form. So you can search in words, key points or topics that you want.
Like literally Control F.
Yeah.
Oh, that's dope. Yeah.
So
that's
like
really
if
cool.
you're editing something, maybe you're editing like a scene about like basketball or something, and you remember like, oh, I remember this like interviewer said like, oh, I used to play basketball like when I was 7, but like you don't remember where, and like you can Command F and look in your transcript where they said that.
That's super key.
Yeah, and
that way you don't have to scrub through footage or watch.
And sometimes you forget like that there was a moment that someone said something, but when you're reading the transcript, you can see like, oh my god, I totally missed that when I was scrubbing through it, and then you can put that in your doc. So transcribing is so key.
And you have like, say you have 15, 20 interviews. That's so many different clips that you have to go find and go back to blah, blah, blah. So we compile all of those same transcripts in one doc. And then when you're searching something like whatever the keyword is, it's like you're seeing everyone that talked about it. So now you could build a section and have 3 people talking about versus just one person like that you happen to find. You could add more value to that by multiple people or something,
Gives you a better look.
Yeah.
Because even for YouTube videos, it's better search engine wise to have like closed captions and transcriptions in as many languages as possible. So like right now, a big thing is like transcribing to Chinese because there are like another billion people potentially that just do not like. I've had people reach out to me like, I can translate and transcribe your videos into China, but then they want to upload them on like these other. So
I just saw Gary Vee started doing that.
Yeah, he did. Just started a Chinese Instagram page, and I think it's really like it could be powerful, but like,
I love that
dude.
shit.
If you transcribe the podcast into like as many languages as possible, but like that people might not know, but there's website services that you literally send them, and they charge per minute, I think, of footage to like transcribe or give you closed captions.
Yeah, that's what we use.
Yeah, there's like a whole bunch of different websites.
Wow.
But yeah, just for that's a little SEO like tactic. If anyone's trying to expand.
Shannon's a beast transcriber. We just needed her to do other things, so we had to outsource.
Yeah.
She really wanted to keep doing it.
It's like a tedious work. It takes
It's
time
very
consuming.
fucking crazy. Yeah, so that's kind of like
There's a computer auto-generated stuff too that might be like semi-reliable, but it probably know how that works.
Well, that Tesla or that Uber car just killed a girl yesterday or 2 days ago. So trust no one.
That was bad. I was talking about that in like every Uber drive I took. But I mean, another thing that pops into my head when you talk about like being malleable, like this podcast is a prime example of like creating something in like a microcosm, because what happens is I have this list of questions, but then I also have to listen closely. Like everyone has where they want to take the conversation, but it never goes where you want. It's like a living thing of its own, because Ben's going to say something and then Shannon's going to say something, and then it's going to kind of go like where it goes. And it's like, it's living on its own. You just have to like let it go.
And that could be a good thing too, because you can hear, and that's why it's important. Like when Andrew's interviewing Chris and getting like this insane interview, we're listening and trying to take notes on certain things that he hasn't talked about this yet. Can you, like, you know what I mean? Or try, like, we'll do it in our latest interview where we'll ask all the questions and then step back for like 5 minutes, just take a 5-minute break and be like, all right, what did you hear? What do we need? What did we cover? What didn't we cover? And we'll try to go back and ask those questions too, you know? So it's good to let them like kind of go off on tangents, because you never know where they're going to take it. And they might say some wild shit that they've never said in their entire life just because you happen to like feel
Always
loose and
keep
comfortable.
asking, like,
yeah.
why? And why did that happen?
Yeah.
And you don't have to be so formal either. Like you can prepare, but like if you're too formal, it's like kind of weird and like rigid and like
if I had it.
Yeah.
So Shannon.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're constantly looking down and like reviewing your questions, it's kind of weird. And like I'll go back and I'll look when I'm editing like the doc, I'll look at the interview and I'll hear Ben and Andrew like asking questions, and like they're very informal, which I feel like is really good. Like Ben will be like, oh, I remember this happened like one time, and like he doesn't use like actual words. Sometimes you're like
some
oh,
fucking shit where
and then boom boom.
you know that time where like you're like
yeah, and like people like respond to it and they're like, oh yeah, like I know what you're talking about, and it's like that kind of like makes them feel comfortable and like helps them kind of,
because if you
answer it,
and if you have it, just connecting that way, like I feel like is so important. And I see how people act, like treat it like an everyday, like if the cameras weren't on you, because I don't know how many times we're around people and it's like so easy just to like,
as the camera goes on, it's different.
Yeah, but then also when you're like, hey, like when someone asks you a question and you start to answer and then they like fucking tune out and start like looking at their phone or something, that's the same thing in an interview. Like you hate that shit. So if you're sitting there interviewing someone and all of a sudden you're like trying to review your notes when they're staring at you and they're giving you their heart and they're telling you everything about their life situation or whatever, like no one wants to answer you properly that way. So it's like if you can try to maintain or memorize what your questions are or try to get the bulk of it, like you like practice that shit. It's like I want to make sure I know exactly what I want to ask you, and then I'm good on coffee.
It is black with no cream.
It is. This is not a Black with No Cream podcast.
But I mean,
good.
the vibe.
I'm good.
I know
Thanks.
this is not a Black with No Cream podcast, but
I always have
you
coffee.
know, the lifestyle is black with
That's
no
true.
cream. So maybe.
But like my main point was to try to like be as prepared as possible for your interviews and like know what your main goals are, but be open to like exploring routes that you didn't plan for, and then always know that to try to take it back, because it's good to go off on tangents, but you always want to try to bring it back so you make sure you're covering your ass on the shit you're asking.
I think it's about listening.
What's
number one.
If you're watching the video portion of this, you see
you're like,
Andrew
what is going on?
trying to give his sister
Yeah.
like his wallet and shit.
No,
Yeah, I need large espresso.
No, see, these things happen. But I wanna go off on like kind of like a final couple points here, because I think we definitely gave a lot of good experiential information and like stuff like that. But one, I want to, because a lot of people ask this and I like just having it on record. I want to ask, since you've actually gone to film school today, 2018, like what would you say about it? Recommend it or not? I've given my opinion on this like over and over. And anyways, I want to hear from you because you went.
I mean, I loved my film school. Do I think you need to go to film school now? No, definitely not. I think that I think there's different types of people, and you just have to do what's right for you. But above anything else, invest in yourself. So whether you think investing in yourself means going to a film school to learn fundamentals because you learn better that way, then do that. For other people, investing in yourself might be, you have a passion project that you want to do that instead of film school, because I think the best way to learn is just through experience.
Yeah, similar to, I think, like what you said, know what's right for you. Basically, I think a lot of people just get confused by the terminology of like, should I go to film school or not? I think if you're trying to, like you said, if you think you'll learn good that way and you want to make the certain connections and stuff and relationships, it could definitely be helpful. But don't get confused and think like, well, I really want to like edit videos for my YouTube channel and like talk about what I like to do. They get confused. They confuse filmmaking with video editing like a lot, and there's much related things, but they're separate in a way too.
Yeah, like I wanted to become a film editor like after like when I grew up, and I was like looking into film school, but I noticed that a lot of it wasn't really post-production focused. So I just decided to go to a liberal arts school at Sarah Lawrence College and just get like an education. And I did do some film classes, but I would mostly do internships, like film editing internships, and that's like how I learned. And I feel like what you're doing is like really cool because you have all these tutorials, and like now you don't have to go to film school for like post-pro, you know? So I feel like
even
that's
if
really
you do go to film school though, I would say there's so many resources now that you should just always be teaching yourself outside of school or outside of anything you're doing. Always put in the extra work to learn different tools, because you can only learn so much in film school. Like I learned in film school, I learned a lot of cool fundamentals, and we learned to edit on different platforms, but I knew how to edit before then, but they're not in there really teaching you like very like niche and specific skill sets. For that, you got to reach out to other people or find a mentor in what you want to do, or go on YouTube and watch tutorials, things like that.
And I
just
feel
add
like
to your skill set.
Like the common thing it goes back to him saying invest in yourself, but like I knew how to edit, I knew how to pick up a camera and shoot shit, but like coming out here, I didn't understand like basic terminology that you would use on set. Like all of a sudden there's departments and things like that. No one's teaching that technically on YouTube. You know what I mean? Like that, you can learn how to edit, you can learn how to do these cool transitions, you can shoot on it's cinematic with fucking gimbals and shit like that. And everyone thinks that's what you learn in film school. No. Now I come in and you walk on a film lot, and they're saying shit to you like you should just know this, and you have to either act like you do and then go ask someone a question or something like that, or people will tell you. It's like Google. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something stupid that I would learn like on set that I could never have learned on the internet. You know what I mean? Like
I think that the benefit to film school for me was learning the fundamentals and learning film theory. And I think a lot of people nowadays are, learning how to edit or learning cool transitions or learning skill sets, but if you don't know the fundamentals, then you can't break the rules. So you have to know the rules to be able to break the rules. So don't just, learn how to edit and learn how to do transitions, because that's not enough. You have to know storytelling and know why.
Storytelling.
Because if you don't know why, those transitions are just transitions. They're not adding value. Excuse me. They're not adding value to the story you're trying to tell.
Absolutely, because I see people do that all the time. And if you actually watch
watch the best thing I say for editors, and this is something I did. Actually, I started doing this in high school. Watch a movie without the sound. And if you can still understand what's going on, then that's good editing.
So my grandma doesn't speak English, and it's so funny because sometimes me and my brother will like put on a movie with her, and we like I always love when she gets what's going on, because she doesn't understand what the people are saying.
Yeah, exactly.
So she just has to rely on like
emotion and
what's going on.
Visual
So
cues.
like we always know that a show is good or not if like my grandma gets enveloped in it and she's like, this guy's no good or whatever. But I'm like, how does she know what's going on? But like movies like Inception or something, it's like impossible.
But that's facts, because look at like how many creators are coming up right now and I think are glorified for like this insane edit ability, but yeah, just some wild shit. And I love it because it's new and it's something that people are exploring with, and now they're mixing, here's the 360 cam added to it, and it's cool as fuck. But the problem is for longevity for these young creators, because they come up and they just start shooting right away and they never develop the storytelling ability. It's like if you can add that to your insanity of editing and video skills, it's like that's where you will become excellent in that. You know what I mean? And I think you'll last a long time because no matter what, since cameras came out, someone's been able to use that as a tool to tell a story. And if you can't use that shit to tell a story, then why the fuck should we pay attention, especially right now when like people can't sit there and watch a video on Instagram for more than 30 seconds before they swipe. So if it's just a bunch of craziness,
if you're listening this long, you have a great attention span, and you are amazing, and you should reproduce.
But that gives me hope because these are things that people should be studying, because Andrew's just dropped fucking gold every time he talks about things that you should pay attention to as a creator. And
dude, I learned a book to read.
Yeah.
I learned
but like if you really care about this shit, that's why podcasts are so powerful. That's why we're doing these podcasts, and it's worth invest your time. These are the tools. Especially if you can't. There's a thing about going to film school and not being able to afford film school, because I wanted to go to film school really fucking bad and I couldn't go. That shit was so expensive. I just couldn't afford it. I had to go out of state and do all this shit. So I couldn't go. So I used everything before people like you existed on YouTube.
And I wouldn't even consider myself a filmmaker.
But you teach me
I just
things.
happened to be really into video editing like from a long time ago for fun. And then it kind of like led me into like talking with all these people who do like more industry type of work, and somehow I become a teacher because I knew the software really well, and then I'm like helping people who are doing projects that I never would have been doing, you know?
But that's what I'm saying, like that helps set like ideas, or at least teach me how to use certain tools so that I can move on and get my ideas out, like get it on paper basically. And
it's the boring stuff.
I used to read it from Final Cut. Did you ever have that, the Final Cut book?
Yeah, of course.
Like I bought the fucking books, dog, that had Final Cut, and you would walk through each chapter.
They
and
still have them at Barnes and Nobles.
Of course they do.
Yeah, they do.
Like,
that's how I did. I remember sitting in Florida on my family
to use a
vacation.
Canon. Like they have whole booklets on like certain cameras.
And it's coming back now. People are selling PDF packages, like Jacob
yeah.
Owens. He's breaking that shit down, and he's like on his third book or whatever, and they're so helpful because it's just current ideas and it gets your brain flowing and you're able to learn from that. And I think that you just have to utilize those tools, and if you're willing to invest an hour into listening to the Justin Odisho podcast,
you're definitely trying to like
all of a sudden you meet a Shannon, you meet an Andrew, and these are people that you can start looking up to and start paying attention to, and then you study these people and they become your mentors even if they never talk to you directly, you know what I mean?
And I think a lot of people don't realize, like Shannon said earlier about DMing, and that dude actually responded. And I get tons of DMs all the time, and I read and reply to most. I mean, if it's just like, yo, thanks, keep it up, I just like leave a heart. But if someone leaves me a question, I answer. And I answer everyone. And sometimes people are like, oh, I can't believe you answered. I'm like, why wouldn't I?
It's so weird.
And you guys probably answer everyone, right? So like anyone who's listening to this probably can DM anyone here if they want to, like, that thing you said about the thing or whatever, and just like talk more one-on-one. And that's like mentorship, like you said. A lot of people probably I think a lot of people think like a mentor is somebody that literally takes you under their wing and watches over you and like says this and that. A mentor can just be like someone you read a book from and they don't even know that you read their book, or this podcast can be mentoring you, or like just a quick DM convo.
Yeah,
you know?
like your mentor doesn't have to like suddenly become your mentor because they said, I am now your mentor and you are my mentee and we are going to go on this journey together. Like you probably...
That's what Andrew did for you.
Yeah,
we
well, that's what he did for me, but
we gave her that
everybody.
bamboo stick and all that shit.
He knighted me with his sword.
I would say like, it's important to find mentors for sure, but also reach out to other creators and work together and grow together. So if you're an editor, reach out to a director or reach out to a cinematographer or whatever. Even if they're at your level, still just work together and create together. Just always be creating and learn from each other.
Teamwork makes the dream work. And all these teams right now are like blowing up, like not even YouTube wise, but like even musically wise. Like there's this group called Brockhampton. I don't know if you guys have heard of them.
Yeah.
And like it's just like 12 dudes. They got a camera dude, they got a graphic designer, they got a photographer, they got a producer. Literally like 12 dudes mobbing, and they lived in a house in South Central, and just like they just did everything in house. It was like a full on production thing, and like all of them blew up. And these YouTube teams like
Team
Jake
12,
Paul, which he likes,
I like Logan Paul.
Yeah, Logan Paul. We're low
I'm a fucking
gangsters.
Maverick.
You guys are Jake Paul.
They don't pay attention to it at all.
Logan Paul.
What's YouTube?
Yeah, exactly. But this is also like what I always tell people, because you get like, say, okay, yeah, we get DMs and we like to answer them, and that's like how Black with No Cream came to be, because it was like an absurd amount of questions, and I want to answer all of them and give all my time, but we're doing this shit and making fucking sticky notes and stuff, so it's like I can't answer all these questions. But I try to, like, even for Andrew will be like, oh, hey, join this group that we started so that we can push people into a space where they can collaborate with other video people, collaborate with other editors, and do all this shit. And that was like the idea behind that. But it's also, people need to understand how to ask the best question possible if they're going to take up the guy that has a documentary on Netflix time right now.
Yeah. You don't want to ask stuff like, hey, how do you download this? Like,
and they do it all the time.
Google everything first.
Yes.
And then ask the question that only you would know. Like, like you can't Google, how did you enjoy your time at whatever, or something personal, you know? You can't Google, how did Andrew Sandler enjoy his time in Venice Beach? I don't know. But anyways, I want to kind of wrap this up. I think we talked about a lot of stuff. It's been a good solid hour. But I just want to wrap it up by going around and talking about, you know,
Shannon's shoes.
Shannon's shoes.
She got some new shoes.
Boom. She always has good shoes.
No, I just want to go around and ask, like, you know, we talked about where we've kind of been, what we've been working on. What's like the next step then for you guys? Like, what's in the plans? What's in the works? And what's anything that anyone's listening should like keep their ears peeled out for about? So let's just go like this way again. Yeah.
First and foremost, thank you for listening. And you should follow everyone that is talking right now on Instagram or wherever.
All the links and stuff.
And Creep websites, even though no one uses those that often anymore. But there's stuff that's there, and you should educate yourself on who you're listening to because we're in the room with some talented motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely.
So
I'll take it.
Yeah, just saying. That's the first thing I did when my friend told me about Andrew, and then I'm like, go to his website. I'm like, holy shit! And I watched the documentary. I watched all that stuff. I didn't even know him. There was like maybe not even a chance that I'd ever talk to him again. But I was like, I wanted to know see what he did and stuff because it was just so interesting to me. But anyway, that's not. Just pay attention.
Cut it. We're trying to wrap it up.
Yeah, sorry.
This is why our podcast went 3 hours.
What was the question? Yeah, I don't know.
Nothing. What's next for you? And what do you want people to know? Go check out Black with No Cream.
That's it. Black with No Cream, and we're also parallel to that. We're doing a bunch of other shit and making cool projects and stuff. And I just want to build a community that people can learn from.
I don't think we explained. It's like a Facebook creators group. Anyways, I'll link it. They'll know.
Podcast, all that shit.
You can't explain everything to everybody, like your film teacher said, right?
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, just bwnc.com. Go figure it out. It's very helpful. Shannon?
I will end with a tip for any women creators out there because I have like some plans for the future, but I don't know. They're not that exciting to talk about.
Dude,
Jesus.
Now you just made me want to redo the whole podcast. I feel like I should have asked you like advice for women in this space because my audience is like 80% male, 20% female.
I will tell you right now, tip for women, don't be afraid to ask stupid questions. Don't be afraid to apply for jobs you feel that you're unqualified for. And then a tip for male creators is to make sure you keep listening to other women creators as well. Make sure that you're not like cutting them down and because they have a lot to contribute and they may take your work to the next level that you would never think before.
Absolutely. Our perspective sucked.
You took our work to the next level.
Shannon really took our work to the next level. Shannon's a beast.
Tee-hee.
Yeah.
But before that, anytime women would talk, me and Andrew would be like, nah. Shut up. There's no room for you in this world we're living in. It's a flex.
Oh my God.
Andrew, what's your Mac Pro like?
Want to hit the gym?
Yeah. She's like, but RAM. We're like, shut up about your RAM. We're men. No, Shannon's telling the truth. She's a shit.
Y'all laugh, but yeah, my friend, she's a production designer, and so production designers do a lot of like, you know, they create sets and stuff like that, and there's a lot of heavy lifting involved, and there's so many people who are on set who just like are like, oh honey, like I don't think that you can do that. Like I don't know. She's constantly carrying 50 pounds worth of stuff to set, obviously, because you're building and you're using tools and stuff like that. So for like male creators, just to watch yourself, make sure that you're not doing that because it's kind of like, it may seem funny, but it's kind of like sus. And also like it happens for other women shooters as well. Like some people may think that like they can't handle that camera because it's like too complicated or whatever, but just keep doing your thing. And yeah.
I respect that. And I agree with everything that was said. And Shannon is leading the pack.
Tee-hee.
Yes. Sorry, we don't have any time for you. That was it, guys.
All right.
Thanks for
boom.
listening.
Yeah. Bye. I thought for real when you got up earlier, I thought
was
Andrew
gonna
was like,
leave.
oh, he's gone now. You've reached your time limit with Andrew.
I know.
Taylor.
I was like, damn it.
Damn it, I talked too long.
Failed.
That's a wrap.
Would that be crazy though? That'd be so fucking awkward
would've
if you
been
just like
better.
if
So
someone was like,
awkward.
my
He's
time's
like,
so
"All right,
valuable.
we done. What did Birdman do? We done here? Or we done?
Yeah.
At the Breakfast Club?
Oh yeah.
We done and we through.
Oh my
so weird.
god.
Yeah, we're done here. Don't speak on my name. All right,
Yeah,
go on.
don't
Sorry.
speak on my
Don't
name.
speak on my name.
I'll make it quick. Last thing I want to say is don't wait on anyone. Always create for yourself. We live in a time where you don't have to be waiting on other people anymore or wait for the next job. You can always be creating your own work, create your own job, always be pitching things,
Preach.
and just creating in general. I think like don't just wait for the next opportunity. There's always something that you can do to improve yourself.
Absolutely. So I'll leave all their stuff, everything we talked about, the book, those things. And I want to thank everyone for listening to another episode of the podcast. If you're listening on iTunes, definitely subscribe, leave a review, rating, subscribe on YouTube, all that. I'll probably just do an outro again. But thank you guys so much for watching. And and thank you guys for the time, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And we will see you all in the next episode.
Sweet.
Cool.
That was fun.
All right, I'm out. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.